inside look this morning at a new pilot program to give Americans the chance to test themselves for the coronavirus at home. Yep, right there in your kitchen or bedroom, wherever you want to go. At first, the rapid testing kits will be handed out in 2 counties, in North Carolina and then Tennessee. Now, the goal is this: to measure how easy access to COVID tests can affect the spread of the virus. Our lead national correspondent, David Begnaud, is here with why this program is so significant. And you know what else is significant? David Begnaud is in the studio, which always makes me happy. Welcome, David Begnaud.
Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
This program is starting out in Pitt County, North Carolina, in partnership with Duke and UNC researchers there. Anyone can sign up, but they are targeting the unvaccinated. This is a region where poverty levels are 2 times higher than the national average and where access to regular testing could end up being a transformative tool in the fight against COVID. Welcome to Pitt County, North Carolina. Population about 180,000. This is one of 2 sites chosen to be part of a new federal program to bring COVID testing into people's homes, starting at places like this. Holly Hill Free Will Baptist Church, where after the services, parishioners were asked to say yes to the test.
Thank you.
There are 25 tests in this kit.
Eve Angel Savage is part of that outreach effort, managing the distribution of testing kits across 10 municipalities.
So many of our citizens are parishioners in a house of worship somewhere within our community. And so by reaching out to our churches, we have a greater reach for the citizenry in our county.
Here's your box here.
Okay, thank you very much.
That outreach includes pastors like Manuel Medina from Greenville's Grace Family Fellowship. What did you think when you first heard these were coming here?
Oh, I feel great. I said I want to be part of that.
Pastor Medina has firsthand experience with COVID. Over the summer, it put him in the ICU. It also killed a member of his family in Puerto Rico, his mother-in-law, Julia Medina.
I understand what COVID is and how good these kids will be for the families to avoid that.
Nancy Hooks, who is a resident of Pitt County, showed us how it works. Each kit has 25 tests to be taken 3 times a week. Users swab their nose, place the swab inside the tube filled with a special solution, then remove the swab and put a test strip into the tube. 10 minutes later, the strip confirms a positive or negative antigen test.
3 times a week testing with this kind of technology is just as good as the gold standard PCR.
Dr. Francis Collins is the director of the National Institutes of Health. He said,
all right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say, Kohalayim La, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the Aki and Wakwaf that scattered about the 4 corners of the earth. And shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom. So, the title of this lesson is going to be Woe Unto the Black Clergy. You know, as you saw, you know, the folly, you know, in that video, you know, like the Edomite has said, you know, they're targeting, you know, ones that are not, you know, vaccinated, you know. He said anybody can sign up, but, you know, they're preferably, you know, going after the ones that, you know, are not vaccinated. And, you know, as they were, you know, proclaiming, you know, in this video, you know, you saw the black clergy, you know. So, you know, that's one of Esau's, you know, main, you know, pieces that he's going to be using in these latter end days. You know, again, you know, all roads lead up to that, you know, what it says in Revelation 13, verse 16, you know, and, you know, the black clergy is going to be issuing that. They're going to be deceiving a lot of people. But, you know, it's all plans, you know, of the Lord, Yahweh, you know, and his son, Yahweh Shai. You know, so I'm going to read Jeremiah 23, verse 1 and 2, and, you know, continue on. So this is Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 1. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord. Verse 2, therefore thus saith the Lord power of Israel, against the pastors that feed my people. Ye have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, saith the Lord. So how's these pastors, you know, scattering, you know, the sheep, you know, with the foul women and these and vomit, you know, these false doctrines and philosophies. You know, again, you know, you might have some pastors that don't know what Revelation 13 and 16 is exactly. And then you have ones that, are of the circumcision, that know that they might be Israelites, or know that, they know what that stigma, that stigma, what it is, they know what that is. But again, they under that 501c, that C3, they're under that. They ain't took the bag. So, part of their job is to deceive the sheep, to scatter them even furthermore, you know? So this is Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Hamashiach, Yahushai, the anointed, you know? So these pastors that you see, the so-called black clergy, they getting money off of this. Where you see other men that's on the highways and byways that's prophesying, being a watchman, giving our people Israel, Yasharallah, the warning, not to take, the stigma, not to, beware of Revelation 13 and 16, where you have these pastors that's trying to tell you, give you prosperity and pray for what is yours, and just trying to live in this world. That's not the light of the doctrine. And matter of fact, they not preaching the good news. They're not giving warning of these perilous times. Instead, again, these so-called black clergymen, TD snakes, so on and so forth. Even some of these Hebrew Israelite camps are, again, of the circumcision, know they're Israelites, but getting money. They chasing the bag. They drinking, from the table of devils. You can't serve two masters. But I want to get the word spoil.
Spoil.
All right. You got a verb, noun. So I'm going to get this one. The noun version. Goods stolen or taken forcibly from a person or place. You see loot. You see stolen goods, plunder, and that's what these black clergymen is doing. They're looting your money. And they not using it towards the congregation or any anything that might be needful. They're using it on themselves. For their vanity, their folly. Just like BLM. You have one of the leaders of that group who's using all the money for her own vanity. That's vain deceit. But again, that's your problem, because you trusting in the arm of the flesh instead of turning back to the Lord, listening to the men on the highways and byways, and trying to lead you into the light. And this whole doctrine, which was made flesh of Yahushua, that is the doctrine. Yahushua is the doctrine. So he's trying to set up, men that's trying to lead you in the right way. But you don't take heed. You're being blinded more and more. The Lord is putting that spirit of slumber on you. All right, this is First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 11. And those days went there out Israel, wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we had much sorrow. And yeah, that's the time that we're approaching. You're going to have, Esau using these black clergymen, mainly that's under that 501c3, going to tell you like, okay, it's your time to shine. I didn't fed you and gave you the bag. Now you got to persuade your own people, through lies and vain deceit and scatter them even more and have them take this stigma. You know, that time is coming where that stigma is going to be made manifest. And then you're going to look at your so-called leaders that you look at, these black clergymen, and you're going to come to find out that this very whole time you've been deceived. You've been deceived in taking this stigma. You've been deceived in trusting in the arm of flesh. When those so-called men on the highways and byways with their goofy little garments been speaking and telling you the truth this whole time, not to trust in this devil Esau Edom, not to trust in the shadow of Egypt, not to trust in, your so-called, vain deceit leaders, who dwell in the temple that was made with hands. And that's a whole nother thing. The Lord said go on the highways and byways. He didn't say nothing about no hands, no handmade temples, and you dwell in there and you receive the truth. The Lord said nothing about that. So I'm going to get this last precept. This is 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. Little children, it is the last time. And as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. And you have people saying that this stigma is the Antichrist. No. That's something completely different. Here in this scripture right here alone, it says there's many Antichrists. And Antichrist simply just means you're going against the Lord. You're completely opposite against the Lord and what he's preaching. And that's what these black clergymen are doing. They're doing a complete whole opposite of what Yahweh Shai wants to be ordained. You're going against the ordinances. And just like it said in the very first precept that I read in Jeremiah 23, verse 2, I will visit you for your evil doings. And the ones that you see, TD Snakes and these other Hebrew Israelite camps that are of the circumcision, the Lord is really reserving you for last. He might get the little peons out the way first, but best believe the ones that are of the circumcision, that's IUSPK, IUIC, TD Snakes, trying to convince you to take this stigma, they gonna receive hell for it. And then they're gonna be made least in the kingdom. We are in, very, very perilous times. And these prophecies are beginning to unfold each and every week. Esau knows he has but a short time left. That's why he's going to use so-called other Jakes, wicked men out of Israel, persuading you to make a covenant with the heathen. But I just wanted to make a quick lesson on that. I just found it very, it was vexing, as always, but it needed to be brought out, because you're not just going to see certain churches and temples made with hands just in certain areas. It's going to be every church that you can think of around the corner that's going to be having long lines convincing you to take this, So I hope this video was edifying. And I'm going to say, Kol Halayim La, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the Akim Walk Roth that scattered abroad the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom.